Hello and welcome to today's podcast. My name is Carl Smith and I'm the owner and business coach at Concept Fitness Consultancy. The intention of these podcasts is to support trainers, and probably more than ever, there shouldn't be a shortage now of help available. My intention is that these podcasts will be around 20 minutes in duration, and hence the name of the podcast, 20 questions in 20 minutes. And each week I will interview a coach or trainer who's making it work right now. If you've got any questions at all, just drop me a comment in the comments box below. But right now, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Tom Cowen. Tom, are you there, mate?
Hi, guys.
Tom, I think we've known each other now for, I want to say 17 years. Is that
yeah, roughly about that. Back in the days when we were at obviously at the leisure centres around where we live. So yeah, it's been a long time now. Time in the fitness industry.
Yeah. So I think if I just let the guys know about where we started. I suppose we started in a local leisure centre, and I think we were there for, I want to say maybe a year before we both decided to sort of move our heads from sort of fitness instructor to personal trainer. You went to a fitness first site in Hull and started your PT career, and I moved to a fitness first site in York and did likewise. I think we were both at Fitness First for around about 6 or 7 years. I went down the sort of management route. You stuck to your personal training guns. When I eventually moved to Exercise for Less, I think Hull, the Exercise for Less site, Hull, I think it was club number 8, I want to say. And when that happened, I persuaded you to come across to Exercise for Less.
Yeah, it was a short move across.
Yeah, and look, you broke some records at Exercise for Less before you eventually moved on to your own side. But I mean, if I think back to the records, I suppose you were head PT in that club. You took that club to I want to say 17. You're going to tell me 20?
It was actually 20. We had 20 PTs at the time, so we'd gone from having 5. Yeah. And then we moved on to the head PT role, which obviously I kind of still kept my business running at the same time, but then obviously oversaw the other PTs and obviously was employing new PTs to try and bring them on and start their careers or move them across from other gyms to ours. And it worked. It worked really, really well. There was some really good PTs that have come out of it, to be quite honest. So it was still working now.
Which is great to hear. The other side of it, I think certainly, there was PT of the year that you won, and I think you won that twice. And alongside that, I think that what really probably elevated your profile, so to speak, was the boot camps that you started to run. Now that whole club had a massive studio. I guess at Exercise for Less, we had a capacity of around about 40 in each studio, and I know Hull probably had a touch more, but how many people did you manage to get in?
A touch more, yeah. I think we was I'd started them, and there was quite a large. Obviously, it was a large studio, and I was having 3 times a week, and it started really seeing a few places in London doing larger boot camps, and there wasn't really anything around in Hull, and I thought, right, do you know what? Let's do this. Let's start and just created a following from there. And there was 70 people in a session 3 times a week, which was the atmosphere was incredible. And I was fortunate to have the support of yourself, obviously Stuart as well, who let me run my boot camps there alongside my PT. So yeah, it built up, and still to this day I'm running them from my studio now.
And this is kind of what I want to sort of talk to you about today. I mean, I know you've got a hell of a lot to share, but and 20 minutes isn't a particularly long time, but if you're up for it, I definitely want to get you back on. But initially, what I'd like you to focus on today, if you will, is just how you've managed to adapt your business now throughout 2020. So just to sort of recap, after you left Exercise for Less and started your own studio, which now it's been 4 years now since you were running your own studio. You ran a face-to-face business and a very successful face-to-face business. What I'm really interested in, and maybe we'll get to this later on, is how you've managed to adapt your business throughout 2020, because 2020, whether we talk about lockdown 1 or lockdown 2, most gyms haven't really been open that long. And when we did get to open, there was this reduced capacity. There was maybe a fear out there from certain clients that, is it safe for me to return?
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
Not a great year, but you've adapted really well. So that's if I can get you to sort of talk about that to the guys today, that'd be really, really helpful.
I mean, obviously 2020 has been a complete anomaly for pretty much the majority of gyms and studios. I mean, we've taken a bit of a hit, let's face it. But I think in the face of adversity, you've got to adapt. And I think that's probably the main thing. Also, I've been very fortunate. We've spoke about this before. It's about brand loyalty as well, and how you've treated your clients in the past. Essentially, you reap what you sow. And I'm very, very fortunate. I've got a really great client base, but at the same time, I've managed not to complicate it. The job and the role of a PT is essentially your face-to-face. I've always said that. And up until March, I'd never delivered an online session in my life. I've always been face to face with people. Obviously, as you can probably see in my studio, and I've always had people in my studio one to one, or at the gyms that I've worked at Exercise for Less, at Fitness First, at the leisure centres. I think to an extent, I've just lifted my business and just popped it straight online and made sure that my clients have got that additional support from me. And as you say, I think a lot of people have worried and panicked about, especially in the studio, the whole cleanliness, obviously with the whole COVID-19. Now, every single person that comes into my studio gets their own cleaning basket, their own cleaning station. They're very, very good. It's different with my studio. It's not a municipal gym, it's not a membership gym. I basically can control what goes on in the studio. But I've created such a team atmosphere. My team have created this atmosphere online as well. And also my WhatsApp groups have been very, very important to relay messages, to make sure that people are staying obviously accountable.
Well, I tell you what, let's get to that. And let's dig into some of that detail, if that's okay with you. But let's start a little with getting the guys to understand, I suppose, how you started your business, and that I'm talking about sort of the PT business initially. So if you just introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about how you.
So I've been a PT for 16 years now, and my business really took off at Fitness First. Probably in the last maybe 2 or 3 years I was at Fitness First, I really started to type it into trying not to just specialize in one area. I think you've got to be adaptable with who you've got in front of you. Essentially you could have a bodybuilder who comes in and I'd want them to be able to work with me. And then I could have a 55-year-old woman who struggles with gyms and feels quite timid, wants to be a little bit more based on weight loss. So you've got to be more adaptable to what's in front of you. I think adaptability is absolutely key. And I've built my business up from there. I pride myself on working hard. My work ethic is probably sometimes to my own detriment, as we've discussed previously. I deliver maybe 50, 60 sessions per week. I've got 3 tiers to my business: my one-to-ones or my 2-to-ones, my family sessions, my transformation personal training, so my group PT, and also my boot camps. Now, they bleed into each other. So my one-to-ones have now started doing my boot camps or my transformations. My transformations are now asking if they can do one-to-ones with me. So it becomes almost self-sustaining, but I have to make sure that each one of those members feels as if they're getting the right service from me. And that means me constantly making sure that they're on point with the food. I've got our own little WhatsApp groups, my one-to-one, where I've got 80, 90 people in that group. In my transformation group, exactly the same, where I'll say, right, guys, I want to see breakfast photos. and they will send them. And if they don't send them, I'll ask them why. And ultimately, it comes down to accountability, and I've got to make sure that they've got that additional support, especially in these times. You know, obviously it is very uncertain at the moment, but as it's been made very well aware in the media as well, and rightfully so, the gym industry and using a studio and exercise is not just important for physical health, but it's also important for mental health as well. Myself included, being at home for 3 to 4 months when I'm not used to it and I'm used to being around people was very difficult. You know, it was hard being at home. So I came into my studio and ran my online sessions in my studio. So I wasn't just stuck in the house constantly. And I think whatever lockdown we've been in, I think it's been important. And I think the whole mental health awareness has been a lot more elevated, and rightfully so. It is really, really key. So I think, again, I've not kind of gone down the route of saying I must open up my gym, and ultimately that's the card we've been dealt with, and we have to adapt. So I've just taken my business and lifted it from face to face and pop it online onto my Zoom sessions, my Zoom one-to-ones, my Zoom boot camps, and I make sure that every single person still feels as if they're getting the service. They still feel as if it is essentially I'm in their living room and I'm training them.
So I guess you've come on to a question I was really keen to ask you. So in terms of adapting your face-to-face business, there's obviously a number of ways to deliver online PT, and you know, is online PT a scripted service where it's a generic program, and each client gets an email series and a potential check-in, which is more of them filling out a consultation form? You know, that's a particular online model. That's not what you did.
No, I mean, the way I see it, and nothing should be generic. It's the word personal training is personal. You know, you're a personal trainer because the service that you deliver is personal to that individual, not a group. Now, you could go and without a shadow of a doubt, there is space for everything. You know, people don't need that accountability. Some people do. The way I work my business and the way I've got results with people and the way my team have worked for me is, it is a personal training session. So, you know, they need to be looked after by me solely. I couldn't give, you know, and put a generic program out there, especially when my clients have been so loyal to me. I'd want them to feel as if they had that level of service still, and face-to-face online. And unfortunately, you know, from March, and as I say, my first online session, I remember it as clear as day. On the 22nd of March, when we locked down, I found a lot of gyms and studios kind of forgot about their clients and thought, you know what, it's only going to be a couple of weeks. We'll be back in the studio. My initial thoughts immediately, without a shadow of a doubt, is I need to get online and put some online content on there within 2 days, and I did.
Well, talk to me about that, because that is exactly what I've noticed. I've seen you do, and you were one of the first people to do it. And one of the first things I saw was your Zoom screen, I think, on one of the Facebook.
Yeah. Oh, it was the first one. The first one was horrendous. I felt I've got this massive big Swede in front of the camera, and I didn't know what I was, you know, and obviously the sound's a bit, but you know, you hone your craft. And I think I was fortunate that my clients were very aware that it was the first time that I'd done an online session, and after the first time, it worked perfectly. And then I had 7 or 8 people, which then went to 17, 18. And, you know, I was running 16, 17 boot camps a week online, making sure that those clients had me there at their beck and call again.
Did you change your pricing structure? Did you charge? I mean,
no. I dropped my boot camp prices down, and I dropped them down because obviously they were only 45 minutes per session. But I've since changed that for obviously the second lockdown to an hour. Now, you know, my clients did an hour session with me last night and did a boot camp last night, and they're burning 600 calories in an online session, which is pretty good going for a body weight. Mm-hmm. Couple of some of them have got dumbbells and a mat, and that's it, maybe a kettlebell. Majority of them are doing burpees, jump squats, press ups, all bodyweight exercises. But, you know, as you can probably see, my voice is quite sore at the moment because I will give everything I've got, you know, and in that studio session, and it's the same as an online session, I will work them to the limit. But you build relationships, and we've discussed this before. You build relationships, and I still want those people to feel online in the small little boxes. I want them to feel as if I'm there with them, and I want them to feel as if they've got people with them who they know from being in here as well. And it's lovely to see newbies. I've had so many new faces or people dropping me messages saying, "Oh, Tom, I've heard you doing online boot camps. Do you mind if I jump on?" I'm like, absolutely not. Some people are starting the fitness journeys with me now in lockdown, which is really refreshing. You know,
one of my questions for you, and I haven't asked you this, is did you stop delivering those sessions when you were allowed to open again, or did you continue them?
No, I continued.
There's definitely
so
a market for that.
It was quite difficult because obviously people wanted to come back in the studio, but I was running online boot camps at the same time as my studio session. So I had a studio session going on, and I would have my computer screen ready, and I'd have 10 people there who couldn't make the studio. Or I've got a couple of people from Spain who've kind of gone abroad and wanted to continue training whilst I was there, and they logged on to Zoom, which was a really nice, you know, kind of like an option for them to jump on board. So yeah, I wanted to try and make sure that I gave them that option as well. And don't get me wrong, again, it's learning. I'm still learning. I'm still learning in the role, and I don't think I'll ever stop learning. And I think as a PT, you do learn people in front of you. You know, you deal with so many people and so many different types of personalities, and you do have to have a very, very open mind with it. So having a class with, you know, maximum of 10, 15 people in, because obviously the whole COVID restrictions and social distancing was very difficult, you know, but ultimately then I could have another 10, 15 people online and the restrictions would still be in place, but I was still getting 30 people in a class as a whole, 15 online, 10 in the studio. Done.
Did you cap, or did first of all, what system were you using? Was it Zoom?
Yeah, I use Zoom, and I have Eventbrite. So my booking system is done via Eventbrite. I'd probably say as a tool, that's probably one of the main bookings. It's really easy. People book on. You send them a link, and they book what sessions they want. And I've got my sessions there. So Monday at 7, or it's really, really straightforward. But Zoom has been perfect for me. You know, I couldn't have done without doing obviously your online sessions.
Have you paid? Did you need to pay for a premium service?
I pay. I think it's about £9 a month, which is nothing, or £11 a month, and that gives me full use of Zoom. I can have up to 100 people online as well. Which I did and as you probably have seen, I did a charity event for the NHS. Which I needed. There was 50 people a session. I did 6 sessions for the week, for the day, and each one of them had 50 people in.
Wow.
Which was great to see on screen. But I think with your Zoom, you're not premium account, I think you can only have up to about 10 to 15 people. So I was fortunate in that respect, and we raised £6,000 for the NHS, which was really great.
Well done. So you've used Zoom, you use Eventbrite. Is there anything that you said obviously about crafting or honing your skill, and was there anything that you needed to sort of learn, or was Zoom just intuitive enough that you press play effectively and off you go, or have you learned anything along the way?
I'm not really the most technologically advanced personal trainer in the world, you know, but within the first session, you make it work. It's as simple as that. You make it work. It's quite easy to set up. You know, the login codes or everything. You just create a link. You download it on your phone so you can, you know, send an invitation to people, send a link, and it's done. And I haven't had any issues at all with it. It's been really, really good. And obviously having a laptop set up, I'd quite like to I'd quite like moving forward, and I know a lot of my clients have used this. They'll have their TVs linked to their laptops, so you can kind of, which is actually a really good tool. So, I mean, nobody wants to see my face on a giant TV screen, but so obviously they've got a big screen on there, so they can see everything and just use it from the laptop. So I would probably like to have something like that, maybe moving forward in my studio, a big TV screen of sorts, just so I could see everybody at the same time. But yeah, it's worked. It's worked really well, I think. Again, and I keep using this word, you've got to adapt. Let's face it, in life you have to adapt. You know, in every job and every role that you do, you, especially to a situation like this where a lot of people are working remotely now, you have to adapt to what's in front of you. And it's the same with clients and personal trainers. You know, you've got a client who wants to come in and wants to lose weight, and then you've got a client who wants to put on weight. You don't give them the same thing. You have to adapt, you know. So
well, how have your clients taken it? You know, what would be interesting is you've obviously, and I wonder, is because of the way you've done your call it online PT for now, because of the way you've delivered that, I would imagine your retention rate is through the roof. I mean, how many of your clients, well, it might be easy to say how many of your clients stopped training with you and are now waiting for you to open back up?
I would probably say it's around about 75% of them that have moved across, and around about 25% of them are waiting. You know, and that, I think as well, that's a lot to do with childcare. You know, I think that's a lot to do with their situations as well. And obviously you've got to be fully aware that not everybody is in a situation where they can actually go on screen at 7 p.m. on a night time, because you've got kids who are going to bed at that time, or they're putting their children to bed. And I think, again, that's down to, if I could offer those services, you know, at different times, which I've tried to make sure it's a little bit more varied. So a morning session at 7 a.m., a 10 a.m. session, you know, mid-morning, and a 7 p.m. session, and then a Saturday. So I give them plenty of options. So yeah, I would say I think it's appreciated so far. I think it's, but again, I appreciate them, and it's a two-way street. You know, you've got to, you know, it's not all down to me. You know, we work together as a team, and I pose the question to all my clients. Look, guys, I am going to move everything online. Let's do this. You know, so again, I've not run it any differently. I've not used my base any differently. They still get the exact same level of commitment from myself, and the sessions that I deliver, they aren't in my studio, but they are of a high intensity, you know, high level of support as much as I possibly can do. Support is key in the industry, really is.
Oh, leads me on to what piece of advice would you offer to brand new trainers now coming into the industry?
I would probably say, you know, moving on to, you've got to listen, you've got to learn, and you've got to adapt. By listening to your peers, you know, I do, you know, I listen to you. You know, you helped me massively, especially, you know, Exercise for Less, and also PTs who have been in the industry longer than I have, or are successful in the industry. You know, I think you've got to learn from them. So, you know, take their points and try and make yourself a little bit more rounded, rather than, you know, just specializing in one thing and sticking to that one thing, which is fine. But I want to be able to work with everybody. You know, I want to be able to work with every single person that walks through the door. And, you know, I've got a boot camp that has, you know, a 65-year-old woman who's an absolute fitness demon. She's doing bare peak tuck jumps like there's no tomorrow. Like, I think my knees would give up. And then I've got an 18-year-old lad who comes in, you know, and so that it's very varied. So I need to make sure that they are catered for within the same session, which is about adaptability. So you've got to be able to.
I mean, you've got a really cool business model. Effectively, you know, you've managed to, you've got an offering for everyone, and as you increase the size of your groups, the cost per session is reduced, so it also makes it affordable for everyone. And I think that's one of the things that I think has has moved you as far forward as you have come is that your groups have just got bigger and bigger. And like you mentioned earlier, is that they then start to feed into each other, and some of the groups decide they want some one-to-one, some of the one-to-one say, well, I'll tell you what, I want to have a couple of group sessions as well. And I'm sure that online has become a fourth offering, so to speak. So
exactly. And I think that's probably the main thing is that I've now got an online option as well, and I do train a couple of people one-to-one solely online, so they don't come into my studio and they'll come online. At the same time, with that being said, I still think there's room to maneuver and room to grow as well. I think probably my next step would be to take a PT on, which is something that I would definitely look at doing. And obviously try and help maybe give them some tips and insights into my business and help them grow their business. But yeah, I think as a whole, I think through your help, I think things have been. I've been very, very fortunate in that respect. I've been, and there's still time in the year. I think we're ready for. I think a lot of people have kind of written off 2020. I never write any year off. Ultimately, you don't just stop. You evolve and adapt. And I think if anything, this will take you into 2021 stronger. Because if you can deal with this situation, then you can deal with anything.
Well, 100%. What do you? I mean, you just mentioned that, but what has been the most positive thing about 2020 for you? And I know it's not been the best year for most, but
that I've been able to operate. Ultimately, I've been able to. I'm healthy. My clients are healthy. My team has still achieved some really, really amazing transformations. They're fitter than they were at the start of the year, even though we've not been able to get in my studio. I would say the lion's share of my team have been healthy and fitter. They've made better choices. They've been more productive. They've been more active. They've got friends. They've made friends in my studio, and friends that they're trained together. So a lot of people who've kind of not exercised with a group before and now feel as if they're a part of a community. I think that's massive. It's been, especially for this time, and who knows what's going to happen in the future. And I think that's probably something that we've kind of taken for granted. I think I've been fortunate that the community that I've got, 150 odd people in my team, and they feel as if they're a part of something, and it's lovely. They've forged friendships out of fitness, which has been great. So, and again, from a mental health point of view, I think that's been really, really key. I really do.
Which is a really good point. Is that I was talking to somebody the other day, and she said, the thing that I miss most about training isn't the weights, it's not the exercise, it's not how you feel. It's being around people. And I think what I really liked about what your boot camps or your online boot camps have done for people is it still gave them that regular check-in once a week, twice a week, however many times they were attending, and they could see their friends and their familiar faces at that same sort of allocated time. So it gives people that routine back, which is probably one of the most damaging parts of sort of.
Without question. I think what's been nice to see, and also it's given me an insight into, I think probably into parenthood and how difficult families must have it at times in terms of little children running around. So this morning, I've had a boot camp this morning, and one of my clients had her little child running around with a dustbin on his head, which was just it was hilarious, and I'm sat laughing, and there's a nice atmosphere, and then you see some of the clients' children joining in, and kind of watching mummy and daddy exercise, and which creates a really, really nice feeling. And it's a nice feeling for me as well, even though I'm alone in a studio, and I feel as if I'm there on screen with them as well, and it's nice. It's a lovely feeling.
Well, interesting then. So what When you started out your PT journey, did you think it was going to be like this, or did you have other ideas? And I suppose were you right?
Short answer, no. I didn't think it. I didn't think it'd be like this. I think it would be. I didn't think it would be as demanding, probably, because it is a demanding, and I think that's the double-edged sword. If you embrace it, and rather than fight against it, accept that if you want to help people and you want to be as successful as you possibly can be, I think you've got to realize that the job isn't just delivering a session. And I think you'll see this probably more than I do. You can become you find it's almost a production line of personal trainers. You find that there's, they're very robotic, and you can't be. My job doesn't end when I leave the studio. My job ends at 11, 12 o'clock on a night after I've messaged everybody to say, right, guys, I'll see you in the morning. Right, make sure that you send me these photos. Make sure you send me your food photos. How are you feeling? That is the job. It's not a 40-hour-a-week job. It's an 80-plus-hour-a-week job. But I'm not complaining, because it's my life. And apart from musical theatre, obviously that's my life. But and
I was waiting for that.
Correct, mate. Yeah. So yeah. I think that is probably the most. That's the most. There's a very good question. No, I don't think it is. I think it's more. It's so much more. The job is so much more because people rely on you and you rely on them. Yeah. And I think if you can get that balance, and you can, you open up yourself to making people feel comfortable, and ultimately the job. You don't want to become and be viewed as an expensive commodity. You want to become a necessity, and that's the one piece of advice. Make sure that you market yourself, and you are a person that cares, because ultimately that'll resonate with your client base. You've got to care.
Everyone that I've spoken to over the last couple of days have said that really the secret to their success is probably that they're honest, genuine human beings, and that in itself resonates, and that and you can't fake that, unfortunately. But if that is part of you, and that's how you operate, then you are likely to be successful.
That pretty much nailed that on the head. People tend to see through people. People tend to be able to, when you one-to-one with someone, and after a while, you be able to see what a person is about, really. And it's the same with, usually somebody will sit and have a consultation with me, and that consultation for me is key, because I will know within, and doing it for such a long period of time, you start to gauge and get a feel for someone, and I'll know what person is going to need a certain level of, in certain ways they'll need support outside of the gym, or, they'll just need a direct, right, this is what we're going to do today. This is what I expect you to do. And so again, but they'll see that, I'd like to think that they'll see that I really do care. I want people to get results, from being from a background of, I struggled with weight when I was younger, massively, and probably up until I was about 15, 16 years old, I struggled with it, and quite badly. And I think, I'd like to think I understand, and I understand how people struggle, and you can relate to people, especially in terms of from a weight loss point of view. And I think we still live in the society of everything's on social media, and and there's so many trainers out there who are absolutely ripped up to hell, and there's so much pressure. Ultimately, as a PT, you've got to please that person, not conform to certain stereotypes. Somebody will come into me and say, right, Tom, I want to drop a dress size, so they'll drop a dress size. But then somebody will come to me and say, Tom, I want to love what I see in the mirror, because I don't like what I see in the mirror at the moment. And that is something that I'll never ever take for granted. If you've got the ability to make somebody feel better about themselves, then it's a great job to be in. So if that's one thing that I'd say to an up and coming PT is you've got to care. You really do have to care.
Okay, well, I'm gonna
I can see you tearing up there a bit, Carl.
I am a little bit. I'm gonna end on one question so that I can go and have a little cry. But one of the things that really struck me about your business, and it's in keeping what you've just said to me, with regards to your marketing strategy. I very rarely see images of you, and I think I might have, in the last maybe 15 years, might have seen 2 images of you on your social media with your top off.
Well, one of them, I can tell you which ones they are. I can tell you which ones they are. One of them is at Coachella. One of them's at Coachella, where essentially I put myself through 13 weeks of absolute pain, nearly died. Yeah. Nearly died to get there because again I put myself under pressure because I was going away with a group of fitness models who were ridiculously in shape, and I thought, I'm not going away feeling garbage. And I think probably the other stuff recently, I've become a bit of an international singer. So yeah. But from a marketing point of view, my job isn't about me. It's about the people I work with. It's not about me. I don't post workouts of myself because that's for my time. That's nobody wants to see me bench pressing and me lifting and doing deadlifts, and I'm there to promote my clients and how amazing they're doing. And how incredible somebody who's lost 5 stone with me, or somebody who's just smashed out a personal best. My job isn't about me. I'm not going to post photos. And that's one thing I would say. And it's that, don't get me wrong. Some PTs do that, which is absolutely fine. Again, this comes down to how varied the industry is. But I'm all about my clients. It's not about me. It's not about me posting videos of myself. I will be posting CDs of myself singing though.
On that note, mate, I'm going to call this part 1 because I definitely need to get you back, and we'll dig into a little bit more detail, maybe about how you. Well, I tell you what, guys, if there's something you want Tom to talk about, bang it in the comments section below, and next time we'll bring those questions to Tom. But Tom, thank you very much for your time today, mate. Really appreciate it. And stay strong, stay safe.